Are you looking to build an analytics team but have no idea where to start? Hi, I'm Brian Amrine, co-founder and principal analytics consultant at Value Driven Analytics, and today I'm talking to you about how to build a high-performing analytics team. Now, the first thing you need to do when you're building an analytics team is to determine what your goals are. And what your goals are could influence how you set up that analytics team. For instance, you need to determine whether you're primarily looking to build reporting for stakeholders so that they can see trends in the data, or whether you're looking to build more of an ad hoc analysis team that can look into business questions for your stakeholders, dive into what impact different initiatives are having and why you're seeing certain business trends, or whether you're looking to do some predictive or prescriptive analysis to really do some more advanced analytics using data science techniques. Now, maybe the answer is all three of those. I'd like to have a team that builds interactive dashboards for my stakeholders to drill into. I'd like to have a team that can look into ad hoc business questions. And I'd like to have a team that can build predictive and prescriptive models. Well, now that you've answered that question, and all three of those are high value things that your business probably should be investing in, it's time to figure out what the optimal setup is. Now, there's a few different setups. Some organizations decide to have a dedicated reporting team and a dedicated ad hoc analysis team and a dedicated data science team. The development initiatives and the topics may look different depending on those areas, and so why not structure teams around those? Now, other organizations take analysts and they actually give them a mix of reporting projects and analysis projects and even sometimes data science projects as they learn to perform more and more advanced analytics techniques. Now, what's neat about that is it gives the analyst a variety of things in their area. And if they're assigned to a specific stakeholder, they can handle everything from reporting to analysis to data science. Perhaps if you're a larger organization and you're looking to build out a team of maybe 20 or more analysts, perhaps you have that level of specialization where you can have a sales reporting analyst and a sales ad hoc analyst and a sales data scientist. But if you're a smaller organization, very well may make sense to have an analyst dedicated to the sales team, for instance, and they work on the reporting, the ad hoc analysis, the data science, anything that comes up in that area. Now, what's neat about that model too, that combination model where an analyst works on multiple things, is it doesn't limit them. For instance, and a lot of analysts do aspire to eventually learn data science tools. There's no barrier there. It's not, oh, that's the work for the data scientist. Now, there's ways to facilitate development, even if you do have a more segmented approach. Maybe you pair an analyst with a data scientist if they want to become a data scientist eventually, and there's some mentorship there. And eventually, when they're ready, they formally switch over. And there can be ad hoc projects. So you can make that development piece work either way. But I do find that a lot of analysts like the variety of working on dashboards and analysis and model build. In fact, some projects actually require 2 or 3 of those techniques. For instance, maybe there's a project that involves building a model. But in order to implement the model, an interactive dashboard needs to be built to highlight what the scores are that are coming out of the data science model. And then on top of that, there might need to be an ad hoc analysis to assess the benefit that you're actually getting from using the model versus the old way of doing things. So in that example, all three of those are necessary. And so it's nice if you have an analyst that has all three of those skills. Of course, there can be collaboration across analysts as well, where they divide and conquer each of those aspects. So there's no right or wrong way, but those are some considerations to have. Even if an analyst does have data science skills, some will certainly say, yes, I want to do all data science, 100% data science now. But others will actually still say, well, I like data science. I like that I get to use cutting edge techniques to automatically detect trends in the data, but I also enjoy creating interactive dashboards. There's the artistic aspect and making things aesthetically pleasing that I really enjoy. And then on top of that, sometimes I like to perform ad hoc analysis because of the quick wins that we can get with things like that. And so some analysts will actually, in the long term, even enjoy working on a variety of projects. It's important to get to know your analyst, and maybe you're able to facilitate development and facilitate career interest by having some analysts that want to focus on one area do just that, and other analysts that prefer to span their work across those areas do that as well. You might also want to think about how much reporting you're going to need versus how much data science modeling you're going to need versus how much ad hoc analysis you need. And that'll determine what kind of roles you need to hire, especially if you're going to go with a very segmented approach of having data scientists focus on data science models versus the analyst who is a kind of a jack of all trades, does some dashboarding, does some ad hoc analysis, and does some data science. Now, if you go with that jack of all trades model, you're probably looking at least an analyst role, which tends to be, sometimes this is used as an entry level role, but it can also be a mid level role. Sometimes organizations will sometimes use analysts too as well. But more likely, if you're going to go with someone who has a variety of skills, dashboarding, ad hoc analysis, and data science, you're probably looking at a senior analyst who would have all of those skills. Or you could even give them the title of data scientist with the understanding that they'll also be doing some ad hoc analysis and dashboarding. So that's maybe a good route to go if you are going to be looking for a team of jack of all trades type of analyst. Now, if you are going to go with a specific team that does reporting, you would probably call that role a reporting analyst role, or you could just call it an analyst role as well. Now, most of the time, probably the most common title you'll see is analyst or data analyst, and reporting analyst would work if they're focused on reporting. But if you're looking for someone more senior, you might go with an analyst too, or senior analyst tends to be a popular title as well, senior reporting analyst. And if you're looking for someone more junior, you might create a junior reporting analyst role. Let me recommend this though when it comes to hiring junior analyst or even analysts in general with less experience. If you're a very small organization and maybe you're just planning on hiring one or two analysts, I would highly recommend hiring some analysts with some experience. Because if you are going to go with more entry-level analyst position, like a junior analyst role, you're going to need somebody to mentor that person and validate their work. You would not want to assign a junior analyst to a manager who doesn't have much analytics expertise. You're just asking for trouble. They might be at a point where they're still learning, and if you don't have someone who can robustly assess their methodology and the data accuracy, then and also develop that analyst, one, they're probably going to be more likely to leave to go to somewhere, a place where they can be developed more, and two, you may be making decisions based on a bad data analysis setup or inaccurate data and not even know it. So it's really important that if you do go into that junior analyst pool, which has a lot of benefits, right? They can grow with you, you can teach them from the ground up, and probably less expensive than a more senior analyst. Lots of benefits, but you need to have the resources to train them. So look out for that. If you're a small organization, you're just hiring a couple of analysts, hire a more senior analyst. Now, if you're looking for someone to perform ad hoc analysis, again, titles like junior analyst, analyst 2, senior analyst, depending on their years of experience in the industry, those are going to be good titles. And if I had to put some numbers to it, I would say junior analyst, probably someone coming right out of school or new to an analytics position. And I would say for an analyst, it's probably someone sometimes also right out of school, but up to maybe 2, 3, 4 years and beyond. There doesn't have to necessarily be a limit to it. But then when you're thinking about analysts too, you're probably looking for at least 1 to 2 years of experience. Senior analysts, probably 2, 3, 4 or more years of experience. Everyone's on a different trajectory. Really, what I would recommend basing a title on is where they're at from a skill perspective. And there's one way that I would highly recommend assessing where someone's at from a skill perspective in an interview, and that's using case questions. Whether you're looking for a reporting analyst or an ad hoc analyst or a data scientist, give them a true business challenge that you would expect them to work on and see how they would approach it with the analytics tools that you expect them to have. Now, if you maybe don't have a lot of analytics resources on your team right now, you don't have the analytics expertise to come up with that question, or if they give you an answer, assess whether it's a robust answer or not. Value-driven analytics can help with that. We offer 1-hour analytics consultations that can be used to assess potential candidates. If your organization would like to do some advanced analytics, you're going to need a data scientist. The most popular title for a data scientist is simply data scientist, but you will occasionally see organizations that'll use a role like junior data scientist. If there is someone who has gone through a data science program, whether it's through a university or boot camp or has some previous experience in data science, but maybe not a whole lot, you may consider a junior data scientist title for them until they can prove that they have rigorous skills in that area. And likewise, if you have someone who's been in the data science industry for a while, perhaps you would give them a senior data scientist role. And if you have someone who's really performing at a level where they're essentially a leader in the industry, coming up with perhaps new techniques and maybe even algorithms themselves, you might even consider the title principal data scientist. Especially if you're planning on hiring a large team, you're going to also want to think about what your management structure could look like. What I would highly recommend, I have an entire video around this, is creating an analytics center of excellence. But within that analytics center of excellence, you may need to have specific teams. You may have a team of sales analysts and marketing analysts, operations analysts, supply chain analysts, all the different divisions the team is expected to support. You could organize it based on functional area. I would recommend that, but it's also very common for organizations to structure their analytics center of excellence by having a dedicated reporting team that works on reporting, analysis team that works on ad hoc business analysis questions, and a data science team that focuses on the data science modeling. And that's not a bad structure either. But whatever it is, you're going to need potentially leaders for those areas, unless you only have 4 or 5 analysts that would probably report up into could be a manager, or senior manager, or director. So if you do have this analytics center of excellence where you, either based on what they're focusing on, reporting, analysis, data science, or the stakeholders they support, sales, marketing, supply chain, for example, either way, you're going to need some leaders on that team. And so if they're only leading maybe 1, 2, or 3 analysts, you might use a title like analytics team lead. If they're managing more like 3, 4, 5, 6 people, maybe you consider that to be a manager or a senior manager role if they have more experience with management. You could even consider a director role in that case. And as analytics leaders grow, sometimes you will see organizations that have a senior director of analytics role, or even a vice president of analytics, or in some organizations that are really data driven, they'll actually have a chief analytics officer or chief data officer that report up into the CEO. So if you're really looking to invest in analytics, maybe consider some of those titles as well. You've planned out what you want your analytics team to look like, and now it's time to perform the very challenging step of actually hiring your analytics team. It's challenging, especially in today's environment where there's a lot of demand for analytics talent. But the very first thing you're going to want to do is find an extremely, extremely good analytics manager. The reason this is so important is it can make your job as a leader of an analytics group very challenging or very easy if you find a really good analytics manager. And what you're looking for is someone with a robust knowledge of analytics tools, analytics techniques. Now, again, we recommend using case questions to assess that. And again, value-driven analytics can help with that. But you also want somebody who doesn't just keep that knowledge to themselves, but is passionate about training others, training their eventual team in those skills as well. Someone who can validate their work and again, continue to develop them and keep them engaged in that manner. So it's important to find a good analytics leader first. Now, eventually, that analytics leader can help you build out that team even further. If, especially, it's someone who has some really strong analytics skills, you may be able to hire some analysts that are coming in with very little practical experience. You could go to career fairs at certain universities and really target people who have majored in a quantitative major. Or if you're looking for maybe more experienced analysts, you just look for people that are in a current analytics role, look for some of the titles that we just walked through, and target them that way. Now, if you're struggling to find analytics talent, like a lot of organizations are, please reach out to Value Driven Analytics. We can help you with our network to find analysts with rigorous methodology, with really good analytics skills. I'd like to walk through very briefly some of the skills you need to be looking for when you're looking to hire your analyst team. The most important one, the thing that is very challenging to learn, or it takes a lot of time to learn, is an analytical thought process. You could look at it as a general affinity for math, someone who can take a business challenge and turn it into a analytics challenge in a robust way, an analytics requirement. That is such a hard thing to find, and if you can find that, it's very likely that some of the other skills that you'll be looking for, like coding or finding experience with using an interactive dashboarding tool, that can be learned, especially if you have someone more senior who's willing and passionate about training new analysts in your organization. So look for that analytical thought process, perhaps more than any of the other skills here. It's also important to have a solid attention to detail. You don't want someone who is not going to be checking their work or just overlooks those aspects, or else you could be in a position where you're making a bad decision based on an inaccurate analysis. You also want someone who has the ability to communicate technical concepts to non-technical stakeholders. A lot of analysts are responsible for presenting their work, and oftentimes to a non-technical stakeholder, and they need to be able to do that without getting in the weeds, to really be able to focus on the insights, and even more importantly, the actions coming out of their analysis. You do also want to look for somebody with some coding experience, ideally. Again, this could be learned by someone who has a good analytical thought process, but if they already have some experience with something like SQL or Python or R or SAS or other coding languages that are used in the analytics space, it's really helpful because it can help increase their productivity compared to using a tool like Excel that tends to be more manual. This is maybe surprising to some folks, but analysts need to be creative. They're given business challenges and they are, again, as we talked about in the analytical thought process skill, asked to translate that into an analytics approach. And that takes some creativity, especially when you're designing dashboards. That can take some creativity too, some almost artwork to create a dashboard that's aesthetically pleasing. But either way, even if you're a data scientist, you need to be creative in the way that you create an analytics approach. It's also nice, maybe not needed for every role, but it's nice if you've got someone with some leadership skills, even informal leadership skills, the kind of analyst who is willing to proactively identify and pursue analyses that will help your organization. Wouldn't that be nice? That's a great bonus. You need someone who's going to get their work done on time, who can manage usually multiple projects, as analysts are often expected to do. And going along with that, you need someone with some work ethic, who's going to work hard to get what needs to be done on time, and with validation along the way. Getting all of that done takes some work ethic. Getting a little more specific on the technical side, I've put together a list over here on the right side that shows some of the skills you might include in your job description. So you definitely want to put in there that They're going to be responsible for doing some analytics or data science. And whether they're an analyst or a reporting analyst or an data scientist, they're going to need SQL skills, especially if they're a reporting analyst. They'll need Power BI, Tableau, maybe Click, just experience with an interactive visualization platform. And when it comes to interactive visualization, if they know one skill like Power BI, it'd be easy to learn Tableau and vice versa. So you might say experience with at least one of these interactive visualization tools, Power BI, Tableau, Click, etc. Same thing applies when it comes to advanced analytics tools. You really want to have these on there if you're recruiting for a data science role. Python, R, SAS, those especially I would recommend. Maybe even if you're looking for a data analyst, especially someone who's going to be performing ad hoc analysis, perhaps you'd include those as well. With a reporting analyst, it's not as critical to have these skills for advanced analytics like Python, R, and SAS, but it certainly doesn't hurt. Especially if you're looking for a data scientist, you're going to want to include keywords like data science, statistical analysis, modeling, forecasting. All of those are tasks that a data science would be responsible for. And especially if you're looking for someone to perform ad hoc analysis, maybe even a data scientist as well, you might want someone with experience with A/B testing. This is one of the most robust ways to assess the impact of an initiative, which in some cases could be the deployment of a new model, which is why you might want to include that even on a data scientist job description. After watching this video, I hope you're more motivated and more excited to build out your analytics team than ever before. Remember, it starts with determining the goals for your analytics team, which then dictates how many reporting analysts you'll need versus ad hoc analysts versus data scientists. Or again, maybe you go with a jack of all trades analyst style. Whatever it is, remember to put a lot of focus on finding a high-performing analytics manager. That is so important, because then from there, they can help you hire the remaining analyst on your team, looking for characteristics like an analytical thought process, coding skills, good communication skills, and more. We talked about some of the skills you might put in your job postings and how it's very important to use analytics case questions to truly assess whether the analysts that you're hiring have the skills to take a business challenge and translate it into an analytics requirement. Now, I'll be honest, building a high-performing analytics team is a challenge. It takes hiring the right analyst, and it takes developing them, keeping them engaged, sometimes even performance management. It can be overwhelming. Well, value-driven analytics can help you. They can help you build your team, recruit analysts, train them, and even manage the team. So if you're looking for help as you build out your analytics team, please check out our website, Value Driven Analytics, where you can learn more about our analytics team management services and consider giving us a call. I want to thank you for watching today. I hope you got a lot out of it. And if you did, please consider liking the video and subscribing if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. Now, if you have any questions about what we covered, please consider leaving a comment, and I'll try to respond to it as soon as I can. One last thing, if you or your organization ever need anything analytics related, an analysis, a dashboard build, maybe a data science model build, perhaps deeper training on this very topic or other analytics topics, even a complete analytics transformation, please consider value-driven analytics. Check out our site at valuedrivenanalytics.com, and if it resonates with you, give us a call. We'd love to help you out.